Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cross Culture Critic. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in. How about you?
I'm good. You look thinner than the last time I saw you.
Well, you know, if I hold up the timeouts, it would just start the whole thing over.
Yeah. It's funny.
Banter.
It's funny. We weren't going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it. We started recording, and Joe was letting me know he had some Buffalo Wild Wings, which you can just imagine what that does to a grown man's stomach. And so if he needed to pop up the timeout sign, it would mean hit pause, and he would go do his business. And 2 seconds later, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
So
maybe if you're lucky, we'll give you that first little bit of the podcast at the end, like as a hidden bonus of me talking about my struggle.
I hope I didn't delete it.
Uh-oh.
But we'll see.
We'll see.
So, yeah, how you doing otherwise?
Otherwise, I'm doing well. The weather is fantastic. I finished my last day, well, not last day of work, but I'm on vacation for 10 days, so I am good to go.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I'm ready.
So, well, we're having a day over here at the Williams household.
Okay, that's what you were saying when you walked in, so I want to hear this. I want to hear what's going on.
Yeah, so today I'm sitting at work, and it was a decent day at work. I had this 3,000-word article that I had finally started making some headway on, making it kind of get to the place I want to go. And I don't know if you were like this in your days of songwriting, but you just hit a point where the words are coming together, and it's like a little high. And so I'm coasting on that high. I'm having a good day.
That. I never, hence no top songs.
It doesn't happen a lot for me. I think it's that writing is so hard. Like, I struggle with actually sitting down and writing, that when something happens and it clicks and it starts, like, going well, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to ride this for... It's like the closest to heroin I'll ever, like, feel is editing an article and making it good. So I'm having a good day. It's about 4 o'clock. Day's coming to an end. My wife calls, and I had been expecting the call because she had a job interview on the phone today. So I was excited to hear how that went, and she called and said I had good news and bad news.
Uh-oh.
And the good news is the interview mostly went well.
Okay.
The job is something she'd want to do. She could work from home. It would be a good client. It would be good income for her. Great. Problem is, my son is on summer break right now. And he is 6 years old, and he knows when mom is working, stay out of the room. When mom's on the phone, stay out of the room. Today, he decided to break that and come into the room crying. And so Kelly...
During the interview?
During the interview. And, so Kelly took care of it and had him go in the other room, finished up the interview, which I don't know what they heard or how that affected the interview. But she went to go talk to him after to find out what had transpired to make him cry in the middle of nowhere. And it turns out he was playing video games, and he got very frustrated with the video games.
Okay, I've been there.
And so instead of doing what we all normally do and throwing the controller across the room or something like that, he decided to take his aggression out on the TV.
Oh,
and
no.
smack the TV screen and splinter it into shards,
no.
destroying my TV. The one TV we have in the house.
Oh, the good news is you can go get a Vizio 4K.
The bad news is I don't have money to do that yet. So yeah, it's one of those things where Kelly is telling me that, and you know how something happens and you get mad and you erupt?
Yeah.
But then other things happen and you just get mad and you're just... Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. We'll deal with this later, because right now what I'm thinking is I want to go home and murder my son.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got. I'm just like, yep, okay. We will deal with that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's going to be the one to be more punished than anything, obviously.
Yeah.
But because I can still use my laptop and watch some TV.
Do you need a TV? I have a TV for you.
Maybe. But
I have like a 55-incher you could have.
Well, we will talk later and see. But yeah, so he's not going to, even once we get a TV, he is not playing video games for a very long time.
Yeah, that's definitely, the video games get taken away.
I think getting video games for him is the worst mistake I've ever made as a parent.
Yeah.
I think he's too young. He was asking for a PlayStation, and I will admit that selfishly I wanted a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Because I thought I would play video games. I don't play video games. No. Yeah, I own one. I played it for like 5 minutes and got bored. But we watch our Blu-rays and stuff through it and everything, so it's been good. But I just don't think his brain's ready for.
You need to get
that.
I mean, if you get him something or like kids, whatever. I think that the throwback those classic NES. Where it has like 80 games loaded on it.
Yeah.
And, none of them are shooters. None of them are, you're killing other people, down the street from you or whatever. It's all just like Zelda, Super Mario Brothers, Excite Bike, all that. Like, I think those are fun to, a little something for kids to play with on a rainy day or whatever. But, yeah, I'm kind of glad my kids never, like my girls, I honestly kind of did try and get them into video games. My oldest likes to play Star Wars Battlefront.
That is what he was playing when he broke the TV.
Okay, so my oldest likes to play that. Other than that, no video games. Like there's another kind of strategy game that my oldest plays every now and then. My youngest, zero. She does not play any video games. She'll play like some app games on her phone, but as far as like a console video game, she plays zero. And I'm okay with that now.
I think I would be very okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. I remember when I was growing up, I had Nintendo, so I had NES, and I think we had Genesis and Sega CD. We were the only people in our block.
I had
with
that
Sega
too.
CD.
Same thing.
And we never played it because there were no good games.
Exactly.
But I remember we would play, and I would get a little obsessed with Mario Brothers or something. But I always knew, okay, I'm going to put it down, go do something else now. I'm going to go outside now. My son doesn't want to go outside. He just wants to sit inside and play video games, and it's really annoying. There is no worse sight than walking into the TV room, and he is just sprawled like a 20-year-old college student on the couch with the controller. So I guess that'll force him outside for a bit.
Yeah, shoot. That's at least a month grounding from that thing.
Yeah,
that is summer.
Yeah, that is.
If you're breaking a $1,000 TV, that's your summer, pal. You're not doing that.
Yeah. So, if anyone from the good company Trojan is listening to this and wants to use it as part of their ads, feel free. I would be very honored if you used my story to sell some birth control. Which I was actually thinking about that on the way over. Why is that not a commercial?
Right.
Like why isn't there a commercial that starts with Dad sitting on his lazy boy taking a nap, and then he hears a smash. And it pans over, and the window's broken. There's a baseball on the ground. His son's outside with a little baseball bat. And then it cuts back to the dad. And he's just like, I should have used a Trojan.
Right. All of that stuff. Just bratty kids.
Yeah.
It should be a 15, I would say 30-second, but I don't think anyone can take it. A 15-second spot of just the brattiest, jerky kids that you just want to jump out of your seat and strangle them. And then have it just end with the Trojan logo or something like that, because obviously STDs aren't scaring people off.
I think that is
pregnancy.
The most bad kid, and I will caveat this by saying my kids are usually pretty good. My kids are well-behaved kids, especially when compared to some other kids I see. But there is no more effective form of birth control than being at a restaurant with screaming kids, at a Chuck E. Cheese any time of the day. Or at a grocery store with kids. Mm-hmm. And I think it should just be viral marketing that Trojan pays people to take their kids in stores. And, the kid's acting up and someone shoots them a dirty look and they just hand them a free packet of condoms and it's we know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
My son, he's also started hanging out with these neighbor kids. You joke. But last time we recorded...
How old is he, 6?
He's 6. He's 6.
Is he dropping F-bombs yet?
Oh, you joke.
This is awesome. I can't wait to hear this story.
The last time we recorded, I get home, and I come home, and my wife is sitting on the couch. I'm like, hey, what's up? She's like, we need to talk. And I'm like, okay, what's up? Well, Mickey had been playing with one of the neighbor kids. And Kelly hears a shouting outside. And this neighbor kid is a year younger than Mickey. He's 5, Mickey's 6. And Kelly hears this shouting outside between the two kids. So she walks outside, and I'm going to bleep it on the show. I will bleep it. But they're screaming back and forth at each other. You fucking bitch. You fucking bitch. And, just going back and forth with that. And
that is great.
Kelly put a stop to it, and we had to have a talk with the neighbors and be like, hey, this is going on. And we didn't say he didn't hear it from us.
Yeah.
But they offered up, oh, he probably heard that from his father. His father talks like that all the time. Oh. Which got me more worried, because then I'm like, well, who's his father saying that to?
Yeah.
Like that combination of words directed at someone, it is a little worrying. So yeah, my kid's pretty good.
So he's not going to be over at that neighbor's house.
He spent the night there on Saturday. I hope that they don't even know who my last name, so they're not listening. But he spent the night there on Saturday. So I go pick him up Sunday morning, and all they tell me is, "Hey, kids were up pretty late last night." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sleepover, whatever." So I start talking to Mickey, and come to find out they were up till 4:30.
Holy smoke!
Yeah, 4:30. Woke up at 7. So he comes home, crashes on the couch, sleeps for 4 hours, which was fine because I had homework. Gets up in the morning or in the evening, he's just in a pissy mood.
Oh heck yeah!
So I mean, we were supposed to go to this church thing at night. I ended up staying home with him because he was such a monster that day. But also, it comes out this kid's older sister, his sister's in 1st grade. She had a friend stay the night. Well, Mickey and his friend decided while they were all playing in the basement to dance on tables naked. So
nice. Wow.
Yeah.
You have quite a kid here.
I'm
just
really
a
worried.
Foul-mouthed, violent little male gigolo.
He is. He's going to be going to John John's pretty soon.
Which isn't there anymore.
No, that's right. I used to work right next door to John John's too.
Did you really?
Yeah, when I was working with the Army, they.
Oh yeah, that's right. The tank plant there. Yeah.
Yep. I believe they're making it at Dairy Queen now.
Yeah, it's like the largest Dairy Queen in the country.
So yeah.
Wow. So your son. So little Mickey. Who would think that a boy named after a mouse?
A little boy named after a mouse and a president.
What?
Because his name's McKinley. But, little sweet boy who, I sat with. We went and saw The Incredibles on Saturday, and he sat there and he cried because he finished his popcorn before the movie started.
He's like, give me more popcorn, you
Hey, Dad, give me some more damn popcorn.
Hey, this cup's not going to fill itself. Take a walk, guy.
So... yeah, that's my parenthood story for the day.
Hysterical.
Yeah.
That's a good... So we need to just end the show right now. I don't know how you can beat that.
I don't know. And half the show is just going to be bleeps now, thanks to my son.
And the thing is, if the people see... Like, if the people who listen to this are also friends with you on Facebook, like your kid, like I see all the like cute little photos.
I would post a picture of him as the cover for this episode.
Yeah, and that's the kid who's just... dropping F-bombs and dancing. Just like throwing his thing around for all the girls.
Hey, if you got it, flaunt it. But he doesn't got it. So...
that's hysterical. If you don't got it, flaunt it anyway. They'll appreciate it in 10 years.
He's a little go-with-the-flow kid, and we got to tell him about peer pressure because I didn't realize it started that early.
Holy smoke.
So, but on today's episode, I mean, this is a good segue. We're talking a little bit about some kid things, and I believe a good segue into that would be your daughter is at camp right now, isn't she?
Yeah. I have... my oldest is doing this thing this summer, and it's through her church, and it's called Abide. And basically, it's like this youth leadership in the church type thing. And under the umbrella of this Abide camp, they go to different camps all under the same, umbrella.
Okay.
And so they went to... my oldest finished school, like, 2 Wednesdays ago, and she finished school on a Wednesday, and then Friday, like, left for camp, and she went to Chicago, where she was at this big conference called Dare to Share. So
was it at Moody?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she did Dare to Share, and then she comes back from Dare to Share, and she gets to go home for like a day or something like, or maybe she just stopped home to, get some new clothes and stuff like that, and then she heads out to another camp with the Salvation Army, and it's like a music camp, and then she stays there, and then when the music camp ends, the next camp is what they call like Girl Guard camp, which is kind of like her Girl Scout thing through the church. And then when that's done, she's home for like a few days, and then she goes to another 10-day camp in Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
Yeah, called Central Bible Leadership Institute. So she does that. So my oldest is doing all that. My youngest, she was delayed a week. So she got out of school. She had a week off. And now she is going to that music camp.
Okay.
Then she has that Girl Guard camp. And I think she's too young to go to the Central Bible Leadership Institute.
That's cool.
Camp. So she'll be home for that. But yeah, so my kids, they do a ton of camp. I didn't do camps growing up.
Oh, really? You were a youth group kid, though, right?
I was a youth group kid, but the church I go to now, the Salvation Army, and as a teenager, the Salvation Army has a ton of camps, and they're all very affordable because different things like help pay for them. And whereas my church that I was in as a youngster, our church didn't own our own camp. We didn't own all this stuff. So if you went to a camp, it was like $500.
Okay.
To go to a camp. Yeah. I mean, it was like pricey if you're going to go away for a week or an overnight camp. I mean, it was expensive, and so my parents couldn't afford it, and my family couldn't afford it. So I just didn't go to those camps. I remember I got to go to a couple, and I was just not my youth pastor's son. Me and him were really good friends, but that was it. It was like me and him and our friend Nikki, and it was kind of the three of us. It was she and him and I, and it was just kind of the three of us. And then like everybody else, there were like cliques, So it was like the fringe kids who like couldn't stand church, didn't want to be there, but their parents sent them. We didn't want to hang out with them because they were too rough around the edges. And then in my youth group growing up, the school, for those of you that are in the area that know of it, Southfield Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Southfield Christian was like the big clique. So if you were like a cool kid, you went to Southfield Christian, and then like in our youth group, you were like way, way better than everybody else. And so I couldn't get into that group because I didn't go to Southfield Christian.
You graduated to heaven after Southfield.
Exactly, pretty much. So it was just like, I had my friends, but then there was like just these groups of other people that kind of didn't have anything to do with me. So I don't remember having a whole lot of fun going away to church camps and stuff like that. Then when I became like a late teen, I would do like a lot of like Salvation Army camps while I was in the Insiders. So we would be asked to go to like, we would, when you're first starting out in a band, you kind of take whatever you can get as far as shows. And we got asked to play like a lot of kids camps, and, we would be like the special guest or the music guest or things like that. So I went to a ton of camps as a guest, but not necessarily as a participant.
But when you're there as a guest, do you get to participate? Are you there for like the week, or is it?
Yeah, you get to participate, but like not fully. I mean, you're there, you're listening to the preacher preach. If you wanted to take part in like games and stuff like that, you could, but when you're like the cool music guest and you're 18, 19 years old, and like the 16 and 17 year olds are playing the games.
But you could dominate on the basketball court.
We could have, but we didn't. So like we got to go to like a lot of cool things, and then later on in my career, when I was actually like a youth director, kind of like a youth pastor, I had seen all these like really cool things like over the years, going to camps and seeing what different people did. So I kind of thought I had a kind of good grasp on what's cool to do at a camp or something like that. But who knows? Maybe the kids that were in my youth group were like, "This is lame. This is so 10 years ago."
Hey, fellow kids, we're gonna do puppets.
Yeah, hey kids, we're gonna make puppets.
Well,
puppet ministry.
I was big into church camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was the highlight of my summer, and it was probably not. I don't think it was high school. It was middle school, late elementary and middle school. But it's funny. I think I mentioned the movie Camp Manna on the last podcast, which is this new movie about Christian camp, and it's very funny, and you should rent it, and it's really good. But what I loved about it is it gets it so right, this weird atmosphere, because it's camp. So imagine like, Camp Nowhere or Heavyweights or something, but everything's Jesus-y. Like, everything has this Jesus spin, and it's like when you're a kid, especially if you've grown up in the church, that's just normal. Everything is Jesus. But as an adult, I'm sitting there like, that's really weird. and maybe problematic, because I remember the one thing we did, and we did this, I went to 2 different camps. I went to Lake Ann Baptist Camp, which was up in Traverse City, and it's still there, Lake Ann Camp now. I think they took Baptist out of the name.
Yeah.
Because it's Baptist.
Right.
And
because
then
the Presbyterians, when they wanted to rent the camp...
Oh, those Presbyterians,
they were
party!
They were like, come on, it says Baptist above the camp. We can't do this.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want the Presbyterians bringing their alcohol and
right.
and their... Oh, no, especially their liturgies there. That's too Catholic for us. Plus, if you rearrange the letters in Presbyterian, it spells Britney Spears. So we did not want any of that. So I also went to Center Lake Bible Camp. And, one of the things I remember that we did at every camp, too, I did this at every camp I went to. You would play Capture the Flag in the woods.
Oh, heck yeah.
Which was great.
Fantastic.
But it had to have a Jesus spin.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. The Jesus spin was, there was a secret church somewhere in the woods that you had to find. And you were members of the secret Chinese underground church. Mm-hmm. And your counselors were members of the communist Chinese government who were trying to get you. Yeah. Yeah, and so it was capture the flag, but like appropriating other people's misery.
Jeez.
Yeah, and you would the whole idea was you're trying to get to your church gathering, your secret church, and the government is trying to stop you, which feeds into a lot of weird politics when you start growing up.
See, the games that like were popular when I was like a youth pastor or youth director was kind of like it was kind of like that next group. So everyone who had played those games like you talked about.
Okay, now they were
then
a little
it
more
just
aware.
became like nonsense games.
Okay.
So like the games that like were always pushed in conferences and whatever that I went to was like, hey, put down a giant tarp, give everyone a dead salmon, and then play salmon hockey. So you have like...
Why?
I don't know, like you have a ball, and then you use like a big, like 20-pound salmon to hit the ball into the other goal. And like after a while, the salmon become like room temp and they start chunking apart.
Yeah, everyone's taken to the hospital with salmonella.
Yeah, and so it was like the games, the like next generation of games, like the like mid 2000s were like, okay, we're not going to play the Chinese, Christian torture games anymore. We're just going to do the like far out, this is weird type games.
Oh, see, I'd rather do that. I would much rather do that than Chinese capture the flag.
I agree. But it was just like everything. I'm like, the people that would like write these books and these conferences and stuff for these games, I'm thinking like, how much money do they think a youth group has where I could go out and buy 20
salmon?
20-pound salmon.
Well, you're at
that's
camp.
gonna be
You're
like
supposed to catch it all.
$600 right there just in fish.
You're at camp. You're supposed to catch it all. That's the way it works. I remember we would do that. The other weird Christian-y thing I remember is you'd always have a speaker, always a guest speaker, which was, I mean, it's a given. It's church camp. Give it a little church. And they'd always be really funny. They were almost like stand-up comics is how they were presented.
Uh-huh.
In hindsight, I bet they weren't that funny. But on the last night, they would go serious. And they always told the same story. You would go sit out by the bonfire. They would have this big, giant bonfire. I don't know. They were probably throwing Harry Potters and stuff onto it or something. But they would always tell you.
Da Vinci Code.
They would always tell you, like, put your hand out. Put your hand out. Feel the warmth of fire. Feel how hot that fire is. Now imagine that. 1,000 times hotter. That's the fire of hell. That is what hell feels like. Now imagine your best friend's by your side, and you push him in the fire. That is what you do when you are not telling your friends about Jesus.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. It was like really guilty, and so you'd end up like on this like spiritual high, but also spiritual guilt.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing enough for Jesus, and I need to tell my friends about Jesus because I don't want to push him in the fire. And I think in the end, that all was probably more harmful than good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm speaking on a turn here, but it's not that it's more harmful. It's just wasted time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they could have presented like a really... Because eventually everyone realizes like love just conquers. Mm-hmm. So when you're like a teenager and you're getting hit with all this, like you're pushing your friend into hell if you're not telling about Christ. And then you like... go into your 20s and you question a lot of stuff and you search, and then I'm going by like a good rooted Christian. If you're searching, you're going to continue to get stronger in your faith, and you're going to be able to answer some of those questions that you had as a teenager. And then eventually you get to the point where I think you and I are. I'm 41 and you're what, 26?
Yeah.
And
that
so,
sounds good.
You get to that point where you're just like, you know what? You just got to love people. And I'm not here to, and we've talked about this before, like, I'm not here to judge gay, straight, liberal, conservative, tall, short, fat, skinny, whatever. Christ tells us to love everybody. We can disagree about something. Doesn't mean I hate your guts, contrary to popular news, But it's like, I look at that now and how you said that about your camp, and it's like, it wasn't fruitful. And it probably wasn't harmful. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't harmful.
Harmful might be right. I think it did put a lot of undue pressure.
It was just like dumb.
Yeah,
like it was just a wasted chance.
Yeah, in hindsight, you could have used that time to say, hey, you're all from churches, different churches. We're all members of the body. Let's just do team building things. Let's pray with each other, pray for each other.
Exactly.
Like one thing we did one year that I thought was awesome, and it's one of the best experiences I've ever had. They did what was called a concert of communion. And basically what you do is they had long tables set up with like, loaves of bread and little thimbles full of grape juice. And you would draw names from a hat. And you would find that other person, you would sit with that person, and you would have communion with them. And it was, to this day, I have never seen another church do that. I've never heard of anywhere doing that. I've only done that the one time. And it was so amazing. Like you're sitting with a stranger having communion and praying.
Yeah.
And that was cool to me.
Yeah.
You could go out into the community and actually serve people for a day. So that was the weird Jesus-y thing. And I mean, I'm sure there's some bit of that in like every church camp.
Oh, absolutely.
But overall, it was fun. Like I learned how to crack a bullwhip at camp.
Nice.
Yeah. I had this counselor who was he was obsessed with Indiana Jones. And I'm thinking about it now, and he had to have been like 20. I mean, you're late teens, early 20s when you're a camp counselor.
Yeah.
But in my mind, he was like Harrison Ford's age at that time, which would have been like 40s, 50s. And he had grown the stubble out. It was Michigan in the middle of July, and he's wearing a leather jacket and a fedora. And we had to take electives, so he taught an elective on how to...
crack a whip.
He taught us how to make bullwhips.
Wow.
And then he was teaching us that the reason it cracks is because it goes faster than the speed of sound. So he taught us like I used to be able to do it. You just, crack your whip back, and crack your wrist back, and it would, crack
Snap
it.
Yeah.
I could cut a pop can in half with a bullwhip. It was
Holy
really
cow.
cool. I don't know what skill that would have led to in life, but I wish I would have
There may
kept
be something
with it.
in your future that you're going to have to delve into that, backpack and pull that out.
Well, what's funny is about 10 years ago when I was working at the paper, I was doing the movie reviews, and Paramount Pictures, to market the new Indiana Jones movie, sent me an Indiana Jones bullwhip that I still wish I had, but I spent so much time in the office trying to re-crack it that it all unraveled because it was like really cheaply made.
Just trying to snap a cigarette out of somebody's mouth.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? During your talk, it made me think, the insiders, when we first started, like I said, we played a lot of camps. And we played this one Salvation Army camp, and we were all, kind of just going, so we're 18, like 18-year-old guys, 19-year-old guys. And we played this camp. Well, a lot of people that we knew were at this camp, and a lot of people in our age range. So if we're 18 years old, a lot of our friends, 15 to, say, 23, are at this camp. Well, I remember at this camp, we were to play like we were the afterglow.
Okay.
And so this one cabin, that was kind of open, and it held maybe 100 people max, right? Was where we were playing. Well, all the girls of the camp decided, how like when you do stuff like at a school, like Spirit Week, and so like all the girls, like usually like high school girls will plan to like dress a certain way.
Yeah.
If it's like powder puff football or something like
Pajama
that.
day, which is always my favorite day of high school.
Exactly. Well, at this camp, all the girls decided, hey, for the Insiders concert, we're all going to wear like shorts and wife beaters. Okay, fine. All these girls show up. wearing wife beaters and shorts. And
I feel like I know where this is going.
And it's a church camp. Well, it's a 100-person probably room with 300 people packed into it. No air conditioning. Gets so hot, the steam is coming off everybody, condensing on the ceiling, and then raining back down. So about halfway through the set, everyone's packed in. I'm on stage. All I can see are 16, 17-year-old girls basically wearing wet T-shirts. Nothing to the imagination. Still to this day, a lot of these girls are good friends of mine. I can joke with them about it, whatever. But here they are, 16, 17 years old. I'm 18 years old, looking at a sea of boobs at a church camp. And then once, like, the adults started figuring out, like, oh my gosh, like, all, like, if people, like, got, you know, because everyone's packed to the front of the stage, if people kind of, like, slipped out to, like, grab something to drink, an adult would see, like, a girl and be like, what the heck?
Nipples!
Like, nipples. Get back to your cabin and, like, change your shirt. So it was, like, this cycle all night where, like, girls would, like, file in. Everyone would get soaked. I mean, dudes, too. I mean, would just get soaked. And then eventually the girls would realize, oh my gosh, you can see my nipples. Like, it's soaked through my shirt. It's soaked through my bra.
With, like, their hands.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'd go and they'd change and, of course, put on another wife beater and then come back. And 20 minutes later, it was the same thing. So it was just this, I would say horrific cycle, but it wasn't from my point of view.
You were 18.
I was 18. Everything was fine. They were all friends of mine. We're all good fun. And so that was a church camp memory of mine, is seeing all these girls basically in a wet T-shirt contest at church camp.
Cheering for you.
Cheering for me. How awesome is that?
The only thing it brings to mind is the second Matrix movie where they're all in Zion and they're just like all muddy and they're dancing. You see, I went to camp before puberty set in. Like, I kind of shudder to think what it would have been had I gone in, like, the height of adolescent when I had, like, crushes on every single girl in the youth group or things like that.
Right.
Like, I feel like that week would have been miserable for me. But I was still young enough where, like, our big point of pride was how long we could go without showering.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We would take bog walks. They took us out to the swamp and, like, would literally hold our arms and dip us in sinkholes full of mud, like, to the point where we couldn't take the bus back the 2 miles to camp. We had to walk all the way back to camp. That was, like, our big thing was, let's look how dirty we are. Let's keep the girls away from us.
Right, exactly. Because it was by your choice.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of rejection. It was because I've built up this thick mud wall that keeps you away because I know you want this.
Well, yeah, but I was like 12, so at the same time, I'm like, I don't want them to want this. So I was more concerned that week. I was less concerned about the girls than I was, will the canteen let me mix all my pops up into one drink? Because that was the highlight of my drink, of my week.
What'd you call that?
It was a suicide.
Exactly, suicide, yeah.
Yep, I remember that. There were also many ways that you could learn how to kill people at church camp, which I thought was really interesting.
Okay.
So there was riflery class, which I did take, even though I'm not a gun person. I took riflery class. I was pretty good at that.
Archery,
I did take archery. The weird one was karate.
Huh.
I took her karate class.
Karate,
yes. I took that right before my drama class.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a weird camp. So
that is great. Yeah, but like, most of my memories I have of camps are like when I was in the insiders playing at camp. I honestly don't have a whole lot where I was like a camper. I do remember once being at, it wasn't a camp, but it was like a youth retreat.
Okay.
And it was this big youth event, like at a hotel.
Oh, that's nice.
And so, you'd have your room and stuff like that. And then the ballrooms of the hotel were like where the conferences and like the workshops were every day. And I remember, again, I was with the insiders and I was the music guest. And I'm like sleeping in my hotel. And all of a sudden the door busts open, and it's like one of the chaperones for the camp. He's like, get out of bed. And I'm like an 18-year-old, but I'm the music guest. And I'm like, why? And he's like, I'm like, what are you in my room for? And he's like, I'm security, I'm, chaperone for whatever. Get down to the conference room. I'm like, no, I'm Like, no, I'm not going down. And he's like, and he's like calling on a walkie-talkie, and he's like, you gotta get down, and don't do this, man. You're gonna be asked to leave and all this stuff. And I'm like tired, and so I'm not putting this all together. And he's thinking I'm a camper, and I'm like, could you imagine like at a youth retreat, like Michael W. Smith is like sleeping in bed, and you just bust open his door, like, get down there.
Smitty Lee.
Yeah, Smitty, get down there.
And he's like, I'm Smitty.
You're right. And you're like, I don't care who you are. Get down there. The meeting's about to start. And so this dude like lit me up, and I was just like, dude, I don't know what's going on here. So I got dressed, and I went down to the meeting, and I get down there. None of my bandmates are down there because they're all still sleeping. So finally, like a couple hours go by, and suddenly I start seeing other people. And then, like, one of the guys who, brought us in, and I'm like, man, I kind of told him what happened.
Hope we're not in trouble.
Yeah, and he was like, who was it? And now I'm like, oh, no, now this guy's going to get in trouble. And I'm like, that guy. And I, like, pointed him out. And this guy goes up to him and just, like, lights into him. And then that guy came up to me and was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were a music guest. You should have said.
Did he call you Mr. Yerke after that?
Right, exactly. He chewed up my food for me.
Mr. Insiders, I'm sorry.
But that was a weird one.
Yeah, my youth pastor decided one year, and we can, like, there was a whole bunch of weird youth group trips we took, like, not just camp. My youth pastor decided one year, and we were, let's see, it would have been probably 95, 96. So I would have been definitely like 15 or 16 at that time. He decided we would do a weekend at the Holodome in Farmington Hills. And
Yes.
I don't even think it's there anymore. I don't think Holodomes are a thing anymore.
There was a Holodome on Telegraph.
Okay.
Do you remember, like, it was by Brightmoor Tabernacle?
I think I know what you're talking about. Maybe that was the
church?
one. I feel like this was in Farmington Hills, but
Was it?
I think I know what you're talking about. I mean, it was so long ago, I could be wrong. But, like, a Holodome, for those who don't know, it was like a Holiday Inn, but they had an indoor pool, an indoor game. Sometimes they had, like, bowling, things like that.
Putt-putt golf.
Yeah.
Weight room.
Yeah. So he got this great idea, like, let's take a bunch of teenagers and go to a hotel for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good idea, because we're all in the throes of adolescence, so we're all like, let's bring the girls in our room and just watch movies all night, which we did. We watched Forrest Gump, from what I remember. But it was just like we spent the entire night crank calling other rooms. Like, not just the people in our group, we would just call random room numbers, because all you have to do is enter in the number that exists in the hotel.
Right.
And you'll call someone else's room. So we'd crank call them. For whatever reason, we decided it would be hilarious. My friend had, like, he was getting over some cold, so he had all these pills. So we thought it would be hilarious to lay out, like, half-open pill capsules and straws and powder and stuff for the staff, because we were 15 and that was what we thought to do with girls in our hotel room.
Yeah,
Let's make it look like we're on drugs.
Yeah,
and
that's fantastic. And then the hotel's like, oh, this church rented this place
exactly.
out. Yeah. No, that's always good.
Yeah. So that was not a great trip.
I remember one time, again, we played this thing in Illinois, in Rockford, Illinois. And we had some friends that lived in the area. So we played this concert. And after, our friends came and joined us. And so we left, like, the camp to go out with friends, to, go out to eat or whatever, hang out with them. Well, our friend Kelly drove her, like, big old hoopty. And so we all piled in it. And, it was like all the guys from the band, and then Kelly and then all, like, her girlfriends that she brought. So we, we're not going to pass the chance to hang out with girls. So we all pile in there. There's not enough room. So one person has to ride in the trunk. So me, being chivalrous.
Probably the tallest guy in there, too, yeah.
I'm like, I'll do it. So it happened to be a giant snowstorm that night. So I'm in the back. I think it's funny. I get in the back. We close the trunk. We start driving, and she's got this big old hoopty with, like, rear wheel drive. So it's fishtailing everywhere. When we go to stop at a stop sign, we're, like, sliding through. And suddenly it hits me. If someone slides and, like, hits the back of us, I would die, or I would be trapped in the trunk. Like, you wouldn't be able to open the trunk. So panic hits me, and I start yelling and screaming, and I'm hitting the trunk, and I could hear everyone in the car like hooting. I mean, but they got music blaring, everyone's laughing.
Joe's saying, turn it up.
Yeah, and it was literally like they could not hear me. So we get to like wherever we were going, and like the back like pop it open. I jump out of the thing. I'm like, I am not riding in there again. Oh, dude, it freaked me out. But that was like another funny thing, that it was just like you just want to like hang out with people. So you're young and dumb, and you're like, I'll get in the trunk.
Although you had much more fun trips just hanging out with friends than I had like on the organized youth group trips. Like we did do whitewater rafting and rappelling one year.
Oh,
that was fun. That was great. We drove out to West Virginia and went to Appalachian Bible College because you had to go to some Bible-approved place to get down the river.
Yep, exactly.
And it was great. I mean, we did whitewater rafting on the New River. I rappelled down the gorge after I screamed like a little girl. And almost, it was, like rappelling is, have you ever done it?
Yes.
You get to the edge where you're like, your back is like horizontal with the ground. And I'd lost it. I remember just standing there and just screaming at the top of my lungs like a girl, pulling back on the rope so the guide at the front like stumbles forward. I almost pull her off the mountain.
See, I like to do it the other way. When I rappel, I like to go where you're facing forward.
We didn't have that choice.
Like you're facing down.
We didn't have that choice.
I enjoyed that one.
Oh, but that was a fun trip. And we did mountain biking too. Like all these things that now I'm 38 years old and fat, and like just the thought of mountain biking down the street, I'm like, no.
Molly and we went to Canada. This isn't a camping story, but we went to Canada last weekend.
Okay.
And so we're like, let's take our bikes, and there's fantastic wine country in Ontario. And so we go, and that's just kind of like our little place. Really, nobody knows about it as far as when you're talking about lots of people. Nobody knows about it. We go on a weekend. It's dirt cheap to go, and it's just beautiful. And it's like you've stepped back in time, and it's amazing. So we took our bikes. And so we parked the car, and we get out, and we're like, oh, let's ride to, Erie Shore, one of our favorite wineries. So we start riding, and we get a mile into it. Now, mind you, it's a 95-degree day with like 200% humidity. We're riding our bikes. And all of a sudden, we get like a mile, and winery's not where we remember it. And we go another half mile.
That usually happens after the winery.
Yeah, another half mile. And then we get into it. Now we're like into it. And so we're far enough away. So we're like, where is this place? So we check our GPS, check the phone. Well, it ends up we're still a mile and a half. But we've already done 3 miles, thinking it was just a mile up the road. And then we'd be like, okay, just one more mile. Just one more mile. So now it's a mile and a half up. So we end up going. So it's 4.5 miles we ended up doing, which is 4.5 miles back. Yeah. Well, Molly, my girlfriend, she ends up buying 5 bottles of wine at Erie Shore Winery. So now I have my bike with her basket hooked to the front of it with 5 bottles of wine because she couldn't ride her bike with all the wine. It was too heavy because she's only weighs like 80 pounds.
Okay.
So it's got, now I'm doing this. So we did 4.5 miles there, 4.5 miles back. So we ended up like, I thought we were going to do like 3 miles that day. We ended up doing like 9+ miles.
Yeah.
And I'm like loaded down like a pack mule with wine.
And you went back and drained
and
that wine.
just empty by the time we were leaving Canada. No, but it was a lot of fun. But
we went to Mackinac a few years ago because every few years I decide to get old and go to Mackinac Island.
Yeah.
And so Kelly thought it'd be great to bring our bikes and bike around the island. I'm like, well, that's great, but I haven't ridden my bike since high school, so I don't know. But I got it out of my parents' garage, took it up, got new wheels on it, brakes fixed and everything. Thing I did not fix was the chain. And so we got off. It's 8 miles around the island. We literally get 4 miles, the halfway point. And there's the sign that says, you are halfway around the island. Chain snaps.
Oh.
Have to walk it 4 miles back.
Oh.
So, yeah. So there was thankfully like a bike shop across the street from our hotel, and they fixed it for me. Broke again as soon as I like left the bike shop. Then they had to put a whole new chain on. So yeah, that threw me off bikes. Now, camping, when you say did you go camping like in a tent, a camper, or?
Camping, wait,
when you went to Canada.
Oh, we didn't go camping.
Okay.
Did I say camping?
I think you might have, but maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe I heard Canada and said camping.
Oh.
But I'm just curious, where do you stand on camping?
I love camping. I really do love it, and the more rustic, the better.
Oh, see,
I have no problem like pooping in holes.
Oh gosh, no. I loved camping as a kid. I loved it as a kid. My parents had a pop-up. We would go out every few years.
Yeah, we had one too.
Yeah, we'd go with my cousins. We'd go out to like Lake Huron, things like that. And ever since I had kids, we tried taking them camping one year. It was the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
like,
with kids it is.
Yeah, I think it just solidified. I'm like, that's the worst. It's hot and sweaty, and you pack up the truck with like tons of crap that you don't need.
Yeah.
So my parents do have like a one of those ones you like tow behind you now.
Yeah.
With the air conditioning. I think that's my way to go.
Yeah, no, I mean that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, but I do like tenting it, whatever the occasion. I could kind of do anything. Like if we decide to go rustic and you want to hike 12 miles somewhere and set up camp, I have no problem doing that. I have no problem being in a camper and a pop-up. Mm-hmm. I love it. To me, it's camping. To me is like cooking on a little propane stove,
yeah,
and then like sitting around a bonfire. Hopefully, there's a beach somewhere close by. Like my family growing up would always go camping in Canada at the Pinery, and so we would always go there. So fantastic campsite stuff, and then you had about a mile walk through like sand dunes and stuff. That was awesome, and and then you're at Lake Huron, and so in the summer, as the storms, if you were there and there were storms, you could see the storms coming over from Michigan, crossing Lake Huron. So we'd watch all the lightning and stuff over the lake. It was awesome, and just the best summers growing up were those where we went to Canada camping. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'd love to take my kids back. They're kind of the age now where they probably dig it and really enjoy it. So maybe I should set up a trip to do that. I
feel like that's the age where my kids would be, like, I'd want to take them camping again. Like, now I'm like, no, everything will kill them, and Cece would wander off. But all I have are memories of my dad when I was 13. Like, he would have been the age I am now, because he had me young. But I just remember how mad he was whenever we go camping. Like, we would pull up, he'd be getting the pop-up installed. 5 minutes later, he's just drenched in sweat, and you'd, like, go ask him something. No! Go ask your mom! And, like, just... And that is how I fear I would be. And I don't want to do that.
No, see, ours was the opposite. We would plan a big old either church or family camping trip. Mm-hmm. So, like... most of the time it was family. So all the campsites around, like in a whole area, were all our family. So you could just walk from, campsite to campsite. And then my parents were the ones that always tried to outdo everybody with food.
Oh, okay.
Like everyone waited every year, like, oh, what are the Yerkes going to do? Like one year my dad did like a turkey on the grill.
Oh, nice.
And so just all day long, just cook this turkey. We would do lobster, steaks, scallops. It was just a thing where, like, my parents would kind of save up their money, and that camping trip, like, we would go all out. And so everyone else would be, like, eating hot dogs for 3 meals, and we'd have, like, my mom would make these sub sandwiches with, like, all this lunch meat. I mean, it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
My family would be the one that would, like, walk out. We've got hobo pies.
Yes, exactly. The Wonder Bread, like, hobo pie maker thing, and then you put your little filling in it and cook it.
You can make a sandwich. It got a little damp in the cooler.
Right.
Gosh. So I think that... there's so many more youth group stories, but I feel like they can wait till other podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we got a ton of stories, and we have another episode to record.
Yeah.
But, camp is just such a weird thing. Like, I loved it. I can't wait till my kids go. But it was so weird.
It's even more weird when your kids go, though, because... I mean, we can maybe talk about this on another one. We don't have to get into this, because I probably have a 20-minute rant. But... no, I don't have a 20-minute rant. But like as a parent, like, I know what I did at camp, and I know, kind of like the fun trouble I got into at camp. And then like when your kids go, you're kind of like, okay, someone else is watching my kid. Like someone else is making sure that they're fed. Someone else is, and you're kind of like, like, what am I doing?
See, I was always that kid, though, who, if they were, like, doing a prank or something, I'd be like, I don't know, guys, we might get in trouble. Camp director told us not to.
Right. I'd be the one who was like, what, they're going to send us to camp jail?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do?
I'd be like, oh, guys!
They're not going to send us home because then that's more phone calls and paperwork and
Yeah.
them explaining stuff. So we'll just do a big I'm sorry, probably have to clean up the grounds tomorrow, and then we'll be good.
Well, I'm just worried. You know, I was the good kid. My wife was the good kid, but now my son's out there calling the neighbors so
Bleep, bleep.
bleep bleep. So all right, well, we will be back in another week or so with a new episode.
Perfect.
So we'll see ya.
See ya.
Hey everyone, welcome to Cross Culture Critic. I'm Chris.
And I'm Joe.
Welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm hanging, well, I just told you.
Yeah.
And-
Digestive issues.
Yeah, digestive issues at any point in the next probably 3 minutes. I may be throwing up the timeout sign and then having to go use the restroom.
Our listeners would never have known that. I would have very classily just edited over that and said,
Right.
just kept the conversation going, but now they will know that.
They'll feel the stress in my voice. They'll hear the stress in my voice. And then once that is out of me, they'll hear a whole new Joe.
Like halfway through, Joe's problems just seem to disappear.
Just seemed lighter on his feet.
So it's a new diet you're on, right?
Yeah, I'm doing the good old Atkins keto diet. So today was kind of my fat day where I had to take in a bunch of fat, and that I did. I ate a bunch of Buffalo Wild Wings wings, and it's just wreaking havoc on my stomach.
The nice thing is, even if you weren't on a diet, you'd still have the same result from eating Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, well, that's the God's honest truth. Yeah.
Well, good.
And now talking about it makes me want to throw up the timeout sign and just go do this.
If you need to go, you go do it.
Get this done with.